Hello everyone, welcome back. I'm Mariana Boccia, a real estate agent. I'm here with Ricardo Terán, co-founder and business development, from Folio Title. So welcome.
Thank you very much.
What does a title company does? In which state of the transaction should we call a title company?
I think that traditionally title companies get involved once a buyer and seller have reached a contract agreement. And what I have found is that by that time, most buyers and sellers have gone into a transaction and there are still many areas that they don't understand. And so we have a saying here that says that you don't know what you don't know. And so the earlier we start speaking to the real estate agent, the buyer, and the seller, the earlier we can walk through the different scenarios of what may happen. Going through a purchase and sale transaction is for many people a very stressful experience. It's a lot of money on the line. Many people haven't done it before sometimes. And even if they do, every single transaction is different. We love to speak to clients while they're thinking of buying or selling. That way we can anticipate many things and will make the closing process smoother. And what ends up happening is we end up brainstorming ideas of how they can negotiate a certain transaction in a way that is win-win and that will give the transaction the best chance to close.
When people say, I don't need a realtor, like, for example, I can sell myself. It's data. Data says that for sale by owners, they make more mistakes. It can happen so many things. They don't sell as high as we, because we have the strategy and we also have everything that you handle us to make it easier. Tell us about that philosophy and anything that you would like to share.
So the idea of the title Sherpa came many years ago when I went to a talk on motivation and personal improvement, and the presenter said, if I told you that you were going to climb Mount Everest, what would be your main goal? And most of the people in the audience said, well, to get to the summit. And he said, well, statistically, almost all the people who die on the journey climbing Mount Everest don't die getting to the summit. They die on the way down, on the way back. And so the idea of a good Sherpa is to get you up the mountain, but also down.
Which a memorable situation that you manage safely in a transaction, but it could be very hard or complicated if you wouldn't manage that in the right time?
So I think in Florida, one of the more common but complex situations that we deal with on a transactional basis is when there's condominium involved in condos, right? Yes. So there's been a lot of evolution on the condominium laws. There's a lot of actors that are involved, right? Yes, right? Noise. There's a lot of noise. And not every condominium association has the resources or is prepared to help a seller with the amount of documentation that is required, right? We recently had an investor from Italy. They wanted to invest in a property. They knew the property very well. They had many friends in that building. They would travel often to see the building. So the physical building, they knew that it was under renovations to get into compliance with certain laws. And on the documentation that we found that there was many violations against the building, not against the unit they wanted to buy, against the building. Now, it's very common, especially in today's market, to find violations against buildings because they are doing work, right? They're constantly trying to renovate, and the older buildings are trying to get in compliance with 30, 40, or 50-year recertifications. And so the buyer understood that this building had these violations, but they wanted to understand the impact it could have on them. And so we walked them through a process whereby we showed them that we could have some money that the seller could contribute at the closing. Okay. However, if the buyer closed on that building, those violations of the building were still not in compliance. So you are essentially buying in a building where you are going to now be an owner that in the future, the building is still in violation. So how do you deal with that? Well, what's important is to be very transparent, right? We're not in the business of killing deals, but we are in the business of transparency, awareness.
Here in Avani, that's one of our strengths, right? We have really good tools and innovation, and we try to keep up with the market. It's a fast market. Sometimes not even the owner knows all about all this. It's just someone that maybe even doesn't live here. I had clients that they think the property is the best, they don't live here, so they are not aware, maybe they don't go to the board meetings, anything, and they decide to sell. And then we all discover all these things to you and your research.
What we're trying to do in that respect is we do a lot of education and coaching to real estate agents. In this case, in the condo situation, there have been many changes over the last couple of years to condo regulation. And the reality is that there's so much information out there that sometimes these changes get lost in the noise. And so by the time the real estate agent is going to do a transaction, they have not fully informed the seller or the buyer as to the responsibilities that each side has, so that we can have a smooth transaction. And many of these can be done with a lot of anticipation. And so I think we love well-informed buyers and sellers because they understand the why behind what is being required in the transaction. And so as Title Sherpas, we're here to guide everybody. And I'm the one who kind of comes out in the videos, and I get that part of the fame, I guess. But there's 25 people that work in our company that spend all day working on these transactions, doing this due diligence, talking to clients, and really just trying to serve the best interest of the transaction.
So if people watching us can contact you, please having maybe a consultation, where can they find you?
Our website is foliotitle.com. We have a ton of resources there and ways to contact us, as well as on our social media. You can find us on Instagram, on LinkedIn, on Facebook as Folio Title here in Miami. Our title company does closings all over the state of Florida. We have over 5,000 real estate agents that we've served all through Florida, and we were honored very recently. We were named the #1 title company here in Miami-Dade, and we were named in the top 15 in the state. So
remember, Florida has a lot of things going on. It's not like so gaining that title says a lot. Thank you for being here. Thank you for your time. Thank you for tuning in. Please, if you have any questions, you know who to ask about this complicated but also very beautiful part of buying a property here in Florida. Thank you so much, Ricardo.